Turn the conversation, we're going to use that as a base, but we're going to turn the conversation now to managing financial stress in front of your children, in your family.
Yeah, so experts say there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. So here to explain is Dr. Chase Samsel, a psychiatrist at Boston Children's Hospital. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, doctor, it's great to see you. So as all of us know, adulting is really hard. So many parents want to protect their children from any kind of stress as much as possible. They want to, I don't want to put it in front of them. They'll deal with it, a little further down the road on their own. But is that really a good idea?
Yeah, as a psychiatrist, I know money is a taboo topic, and we all want to protect our kids as much as possible, you said, but sometimes protecting our kids means preparing our kids and having some honest and proactive discussions. The more parents are stressed out about something they won't name, the worse it can be is kids' imaginations run wild. So losing a job, but proactively saying a parent is working to get a new one is a lot better than a kid seeing a very stressed family member and having to guess why the whys that are hidden or denied.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
When it comes to money problems, then how much do kids really need to know?
Yeah, well, maybe I can lean in a little bit more to this one. It's actually harmful to put off talking about money with kids. I think that's the most important thing to start off with. But the sooner kids are able to talk about money and have allowances and be a part of that discussion, the better outcomes they have. And before age 5, you can be very matter of fact and don't need to talk about money. And even after age 5, through some of elementary school, just brief honest statements like, well, we're doing this camp plan instead of this camp plan this year is fine. But really, late elementary, middle school is a great time to actually start talking about budgets, allowances, and money when kids can understand those things and start using that language about budgets.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't fit into our budget this year, but we're working on it and trying to talk about it in positive ways.
In theory, that they can understand that process. So in your opinion, what kind of financial information should parents keep to themselves? In other words, should you share with your kid how much money you make, or how much your house is worth, or how much your taxes cost, or whatever?
Yeah, it's still so age appropriate. I think in high school, it's a great time to really be talking more about details and talking about hard choices and budgeting. And you really want to teach your kids about how you want them to be when they're almost an adult. I think the biggest things to not talk about or not talk about right away are things that are massive changes, like having to move because of major life disruptions or legal troubles. Those need a lot more thought, but especially thinking about things that are really contentious. Please, please, please do not blame other parents openly in front of your kids or gang up on them or have a kid be a referee. It's really important to have a united front, whether you're married, separated, divorced, because that's really the most fairest thing to the child and the least stressful thing to them. That's not going to be helpful for them to learn lessons about money. That's just going to antagonize things.
That's really good intel, good information. Thank you so much, Dr. Samsel, for your insight as always.
Thank you.
Great to see you.